When I first bought this Datsun 280ZX, it was so rusty, it was nearly beyond saving. But over the past 4 years, we've slowly been fixing all of the rust, and we've given this beautiful car a whole new lease on life. And whilst it is looking amazing up top, it's not looking so good down below. As you can see under here, it does look like a very old car. There's a bit of surface rust in places. The subframe's just brown and crusty. The exhaust looks amazing, although we do have overspray here from when we painted it. So it's actually gonna be a perfect time to whip the exhaust off and clean it all up as well. Like, we've got split boots here. There's a bunch of stuff going on that I really wanna fix. So we're gonna drop everything we can out of the back of the car. I think that includes the rear subframe. And while we're at it, we're actually going to fix a problem with the rear suspension, because every time you lower any type of Z, because of the rear trailing arm setup it has in the back here with this weird rear trailing arm, the whole wheel basically cambers up big time and goes forward, so it toes in big time, which means that the wheel is really close to the front of the car at the back, and it looks really weird. It just doesn't make for good driving, so we're going to alter the rear subframe so that we can have some of our alignment back as well. Just make all of this stuff look way more pretty. Like, look, it all looks like crap. So first things first, let's get this subframe from out of the car. Tackling a job like this is certainly a daunting task, and that's probably the reason I've procrastinated this job for so long. As you'll see later in this video, we're about to jump down a bit of a rabbit hole. Well, that was quite an interesting experience, but nonetheless, we got the subframe out of the car. And I'm really glad we took it out, because there's just so many things that we can fix up and clean up and make nice again. Not only that though, but the big thing we're going to do is we're going to modify these pickup points, and we'll lengthen them out, add some slots, so that we can actually adjust the alignment of this rear subframe, which is the most important part. But also, I'm really excited about cleaning it up. But this is what we're dealing with underneath, so really excited to clean this all up, so I feel a lot better about driving this thing on the road. Relatively sure I forgot to press record on that last little bit of pulling this apart, but nonetheless, it's apart. It is the weirdest looking subframe. Like, when I look at it, I just think of like, there's like a plane that looks like this that can't be tracked on radar. I can't remember what it's called, but as you can see, I've actually tried to slot it out previously when I had much less mechanical knowledge than I do now. And now that we actually know what we're doing, kind of, we're gonna make this a much more usable system, so that when we do take it for an alignment, we can actually align the rear of the car. Yeah, I know, the E36 is behind me and it's looking a little worse for wear. Don't worry, we're gonna fix that up real soon. But we're concentrating on the 280ZX right now, so just stick with me, all right? So it is the next day. I ran out of time yesterday. We're carrying on with the jobs that we need to get done. We're going to disassemble our axles. I've never done this before, but I looked up a couple of tutorials online. The axle is in the vise. I thought these weren't serviceable, but it turns out you actually can pull these apart. So this part here is just press fit onto the shaft. If we can get this off, then I can get this stuff off. Then we can get this boot off. And then I can put some brand new boots on this, give it a bit of a paint and a clean, and make it all look super nice before we put it into our brand new, fresh rear end. And that is off. Boom. Just like that. So our axles are all cleaned up, and this is how they're looking now. So much better. And I'm just really proud, because the old me probably wouldn't have fixed that, or would have just tried to fix it in some kind of janky way. So well done us. Pat yourself on the back. Now we're moving straight onto the rear subframe. So the plan here is, this is how the holes were slotted out before. So back when I first got the car, I slotted the holes, I adjusted the alignment, then I tacked the washer in place so it couldn't shift around, because obviously there's nothing to stop the whole thing from just pulling out. We tightened it all up and it held pretty nicely, but we're going one step further than that. So here's one that I prepared earlier, but basically what we're doing is we are adding metal to the end of these so that we have these nice slotted holes to adjust our alignment with. We'll use grip washers on the outside, and basically you'll just loosen off the bolts. Move the alignment as you need to with a pry bar. We'll do it on the alignment machine with Marcus, and then you'll tighten the bolts up. We'll check him in a couple of months and make sure nothing has moved around. It's still a little bit of a primitive setup, but that's pretty much as far as we can go. The way that the setup is before we go ahead and add adjustable joints or just switching out the subframe altogether for a completely custom unit, which you can do. If we can't get enough adjustability out of this one, maybe we'll have to switch to a more sophisticated setup. So let's go ahead and get this done. So our subframe is done. Crazy what a touch of paint will do, but I'm very happy with the outcome of this. Should be good for another 20 plus years. I also went ahead and wire brushed our bolts because we don't want crusty looking bolts or nice fresh looking stuff. So what we can do now is go ahead and fit the diff to our subframe. I'm so keen for this. Look at this, we're finally starting to get somewhere. Everything's looking so fresh compared to when we started. Give us before and after. So good. I'm definitely stoked with that. We're finally in the final stages of getting this rear end together. We'll come back tomorrow morning, we'll slap the rubber under seal onto the car, and then we can finally put all the stuff back in. Hopefully I remember how it all goes back together. Kind of excited to have this thing back on the ground. Nonetheless, I'll see you guys in the morning for a little bit more elbow grease, get this thing done. Yew! Boom. We're back, we've got our supplies, we're ready to finish off the rear of our Datsun. And the undercoat under here has dried and it looks so good. I am very happy with the outcome so far under here. The environment under this car is 100% better than what it was when we first started the car, which is awesome. Now we're gonna bring the car down. I need to take the rear coilovers out, clean it up under here a little bit before we lay down our undercoat. We're using this bad boy to get all of the crap off underneath. Basically like when you press this down, the bristles like spread apart, and it's basically like a wire brush, but it gets in the little places much easier, which is awesome. So we'll go ahead, clean up these wheel wells, and then we can lay down our undercoat. This is one of those tedious jobs that I've been putting off for so long, but once you're into it and you get into a flow state, it's actually very, very satisfying. So good times. Project I was hoping to get done in a day. It's been so messy, so time consuming, and it's taken 4 days so far. But we are finally ready to put the diff and everything back into the car. I'll give you guys a quick look at everything that we've done. As you can see, it's looking night and day difference under here from when we started. It's looking so much better under here. I've redone the whole fuel pump setup and everything as well. Added some brand new fuel line where the fuel line was needed, and everything just looks so much tidier under here. But most importantly, everything is now sealed from the elements, which is fantastic. I also added a bunch of new hardware where it was needed, painted all the brackets where I could as well, and it just looks $1 million under here compared to what it used to. So all the hard work and dedication has definitely paid off, I think. But now's the fun part. Now we actually get to put everything back in the car, which is super exciting. And our subframe is in. Look how clean it looks. So good. Man, it's crazy how much of a difference that makes. So where I couldn't put brand new bolts because I didn't have the specific ones, I cleaned them all up with the wire wheel, so it made it look all, you know, at least nice and fresh as opposed to rusty and crap. But nonetheless, I'm really happy with how this is all coming out. So good. So now we can go ahead and slap the trailing arms in and see if our adjustable system is going to work. So we are finally done with this rear end refresh. My God, it has been a frickin' mission. So we have our MCA blue coilovers in, everything is bolted in, and everything's looking so fresh under here. The only problem with doing a job like this when you start overhauling things is the things you don't overhaul really stick out like a sore thumb, like the brake calipers and stuff like that, all the lines for the handbrake cables. But overall, the difference between what we started with and here is like absolutely insane. Like night and day, for sure. Also, the alignment changes that we made to the subframe work really well. So, like as you can see, the amount of movement that we have and adjustability is massive now. So I'm sure there'll be a couple of you guys out there to be like, what if it moves when you're driving, rah-de-rah? Well, when we take it for an alignment with Marcus, what we'll do is mark it with a paint pen, and then we can check it a week or so later or a couple of weeks later, and we'll know whether anything's moved or not. I've got confidence in the setup, especially because there's 4 points of where it bolts down, that everything should be sweet, especially with the grip washers as well. But we had to do something about the adjustability in the rear end because it just wasn't going to work as it was. And I hated how the wheel wasn't centered in the wheel well. So it was so far forward. It was so far forward, it was actually rubbing on this part of the flare right here as well. So I was literally about to end the video, and then I was like, you know what? I want to put this whole thing back together. You guys deserve to see the finished product. And damn, Elijah, if you're watching, Elijah's the guy who made the exhaust. You did an amazing job. I absolutely adore this exhaust, and now the rest of the car is starting to actually match the quality. But look at this, like, it looks so freaking good, so well made, and this thing's an absolute breeze to work on. It's got a V-band clamp right here. I didn't put the mount back on yet. And a V-band clamp right here, and the whole thing just comes apart so easily. But look at that. How freaking good. So we'll bring this thing down now, and I'm actually gonna sit the wheels on and kind of set where the toe should be sitting, and then I should be sweet to put the car on the ground officially. So freaking stoked. Look at that. Mike did that. So good. Let's see if we can get the jack out without having to put some wood under the wheels. I can't remember. Oh, don't go too fast. Holy crap, that scared the shit out of me. It always does. Oh, that didn't sound good. No, that's fine. Nah, we got it. Yeah. So the Datsun is now back on the ground, which I'm stoked about. Man, such a mammoth effort, but for some reason, it's really high now, and I can't quite figure out why. I've tried to, like, you know, jump in it just to make sure, you know, the springs are settled and stuff, the handbrake's not on. My guess is because now we've got it sitting nice and center in the wheel well, this one's not quite center. It does have a little more room to go backwards, but it's way better than what it was before. Like, it was so close to the front here before. It was crazy. It had so much toe in. So I'm assuming that has something to do with the height, and now I need to lower it more on the coilovers. Nonetheless, super successful with the new adjustment that we have on the rear subframe. That is the job done in the rear. Whew. How good does this car look, man? Look at that. These things just have such a presence. You cannot beat it, in my opinion, especially with the meaty wheels and tires and stuff. But that is a wrap on this video. I'm kind of exhausted, but I need to go home right now and edit this video to get it out for you guys, and then tomorrow morning we're here nice and early. So crazy, so much work going into this stuff. So if you are watching, hit that damn subscribe button because we are pushing super hard. As always, thank you guys so much for supporting. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, peace.